let's get things started. Hey guys, Hattopy here. So while we were all feverishly waiting for the next big announcement from Pokemon back at E3, instead of just a new generation announcement, we actually got confirmation of the next big Pokemon game they're releasing in the franchise, that being Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, at first, I was a little nervous because to me, all it looked like was basically a console port of Pokemon Go, a game that I wholeheartedly find to be very mediocre for the most part. To me, I play Pokemon games to explore the world that I am presented with in that specific game. I dislike exploring my own town because any and all exploration I could have done, I've already done as a kid. My town isn't all that interesting. But regardless, I was still interested to see where they might go with this sort of setup. That curiosity would be settled for a little bit after they went about describing a few of the different things that was going on with the game. It still had a few people on the fence, and to me, I remained fairly optimistic despite the fact that it was another look back at the Kanto region and Generation 1. But regardless, I went ahead and pre-ordered the special Eevee edition, which came with the Pokeball Plus, because, why not see what it's like, I guess. And the Eevee edition, because Pikachu still sucks. Come at me, bruh. Regardless, though, let's dive right in and take a look at Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So Let's Go stars you going out and starting your Pokemon journey. You run into Professor Oak just outside of Pallet Town studying Pokemon. As he goes to head back to the lab to give you and your friend a Pokemon, an Eevee pops out at you. Oak then provides you with a bucket load of Pokeballs, and you catch it. From there, your journey truly begins. Catch every Pokemon you see, battle trainers, and go out to test your skills against the gym leaders, thwart the dastardly Team Rocket, and be the best like no one ever was. So yes, this is very much within the realm of a remake, kinda. Now, normally I would kind of discuss more about the story first, and I kind of already gave you the brief synopsis, and if you play Generation 1, then you do kind of know where things are going to go, but there is a bit more that I want to discuss with the story, but I want to get everything else kind of out of the way first, so we'll come back to that. Firstly, this game looks really good. The colors all pop out really well, animations look nice, and character models have been given some nice upgrades, so I could have done without the repeating character animations for a large bulk of the characters. And dare I say, the music actually sounds pretty dang good. I gave the GBA remake flack for its music being of lower quality than the original, but Let's Go has some beautiful renditions of its older music, and I fell in love with it pretty much all the time. Still hard to say which one I like more, though. As you run around the Kanto region, you can encounter Pokemon in the wild. However, unlike previous games, Pokemon actually appear in the overworld, and you can run or avoid them at your discretion. When you do encounter them, you go into the capturing screen. Now, if you played Pokemon Go, you know how this system works. Time and aim your throw into the circle with it as small as possible for a better chance of capturing it, and to further increase the bonus experience you get. You can use different balls and berries to also aid in the probability of capturing the Pokemon. They can impede that progress though by moving around and jumping and attacking, as well to throw off your timing using up resources. You know, to be honest, I really don't have an issue with this capturing system. Sure, they took away wild battles, but for future games, if they can incorporate the two together, that would be a really nice advancement in the capturing mechanics for Pokemon, something that really doesn't get a lot of love despite the fact that it's pretty much taglined underneath the name of Pokemon. Now, it's not like they completely ignored that system though, since fights against Snorlax, random Electrode at the power plant, the legendary birds, and Mewtwo all have you battling them first before you actually have to capture them. So it would be really awesome if we could see that more fleshed out later on. The last time capturing Pokemon got any sort of mechanic changes was with critical captures, which isn't much, and the last time before that was in Generation 2 when they introduced different types of Pokeballs that can have better success under different conditions. So it would be really nice to see something change with this. Rather, my issue is the technology behind trying to throw the Pokeball. Trying to throw the ball anywheres other than dead straight took a long time to learn, and even then, it is a fickle thing to fight with. So if a Pokemon jumped to the side of the screen, then I was pretty much screwed until it got back to the center, or if I got like really lucky. Now if a Pokemon jumps really far off to the side and ends up going off screen, then the camera sort of swings around to try to track with it, and usually tends to slingshot a little bit, putting it closer to the center, which is nice. I just kind of wish that I could control the camera myself with the stick, since it's not even really used while in the capturing screen. Now, actually, in handheld mode, it's actually a little bit better since it uses gyro controls to move around, letting you have free access to any direction you want. And you just tap the button and it throws the ball. It's a lot easier. I would show you, but it's here in my hand and not on my game capture, so I might as well bring this up as well, the Pokeball Plus. Now, this little guy was heavily marketed alongside the game as a means of not only being an extra controller for the game, but as well being an outside peripheral that players can use to aid them in the game. Now, there isn't much to say for it being a controller, other than the fact that because it has such lack of buttons, it makes going through menus in the game a lot more tedious than it kind of really needed to be. But what you can do, though, is you can actually stick a Pokemon inside and take them out for walks or even play with them. You can shake the ball to make them make some noises, or even spin the stick as well to make them make some sexy noises. Anywho, that aside, after finishing up, you can stick them back into the game and they'll earn experience and different forms of candy, things that sort of replace irons and proteins in the game. And it's always a nice thing to have. But back to the actual main game. This doesn't mean that battles were omitted entirely here, though, since trainer battles and gym leaders are back and their fights remain largely the same. Nothing new here other than... What? Oh my, no abilities? Held items too? What the heck? I know that Let's Go was targeted more towards the newer, younger generation of future Pokemon players. It even says so in the box. A first Pokemon adventure for everyone. But is it really hard to understand how abilities or held items work? I mean, you're taking away some of the most iconic features that the series has ever produced and stripping away the entire challenge of the entire game. Do you know how long it's been since I've hit a Ghastly with a ground type attack? That's not right. What doesn't help with the challenge is that you have infinite access to your Pokemon box, allowing you to swap out anyone at any time. And the fact that since there are no wild encounters, any and all damage is a non-issue since you can just double back to a Pokemon Center for free pretty much. So battles are dumbed down. Things that remain though is Pokemon affection. By letting Pokemon out of their Pokeball and chatting with them, you can raise their affection towards you, essentially rewarding you with in-battle bonuses, much like how Pokemon Refresh or Pokemon Ami handled it. Dodging hits, breaking out of status ailments, bonus experience, the works. Much like Sun and Moon though, I find that it doesn't happen often enough to make it game-breaking. There's something else that does that, but I'll get to that. By letting certain Pokemon out, you can also ride on top of them, acting as your faster means of traversal, replacing the bike. The problem though is that the size of the Pokemon causes them to freak out, going back into their ball when going into tight quarters or when jumping off ledges. Why? Why couldn't they just make jumping animation for ledges? Anyways, this is the second main game in the series without the bike. Game Freak, please don't leave this behind. None of that, though, is to say that interacting with your Pokemon up close is gone, though, since that is relegated to playing with Eevee. And let me just say... Oh, she's just adorable! I mean, manly stuff. You can pet or feed them, or if they hang off your arm, you can play a small game of slap their hand. She can also randomly pick up items to give you, though I haven't found much use for them. Never got rid of them, though. I will not disappoint this precious bundle of joy. By doing all that, that acts in the same way as the Pokemon that follow you around. You get the same sort of bonuses. By having a good friendship, Eevee can support you in battle, as well by either buffing all stats to a Pokemon, or if Eevee is out, can use an ultimate attack that looks just dang hilarious. Cool people don't look at explosives. Eevee can also learn other moves as well by these ringmaster folk in different Pokemon centers. And ladies and gentlemen, say hello to what easily breaks this game in half. Besides the fact I would probably never holler these attacks out in public. Eevee, use Glitzy Glow. Glitzy Glow. Yeah, right. These attacks are actually uber overpowered. Wait, what? Ah! Oh my god, it burns! Thanks, Eevee.
Oh god, it stings! Why? Oh, the humanity!
Again.
Oh.
Want a more powerful Nuzzle? A Psychic and Dark type attack that also puts up Light Screen and Reflect, respectively. A Fire type attack that always burns. Yep. These attacks, exclusive to Eevee, sure are powerful and made for an extremely easy experience. I wouldn't say that it makes the game Generation 6 easy though. Levels scale fairly well. It's just that the attacks themselves that are overpowered, which means you can just use your other Pokemon or don't learn the attacks entirely, which I did the former. These moves kick butt. I never said it wasn't fun, just broken. That also extends to the secret techniques. HMs are still gone. Instead, Eevee can learn the secret moves in cute, adorable fashion and without using an attack slot, it's fine. The only thing really left to mention gameplay-wise is that Mega Evolutions make a stronger reappearance in this game with Z moves completely non-existent, which I am okay with. Though there isn't any new Megas introduced, which kinda sucks, I guess. There is also the Go Park, but I don't play Pokemon Go all that much. I mostly just started getting back into it, but I haven't actually caught 2501 type of Pokemon in the game either, so I never did all the features that were there. I'll get to it some other time, I guess. So you battle your way through the league, collecting badges, competing against your rivals, stopping the nefarious schemes of Team Rocket, and eventually become the champion. What's next? Well, there's no real post-game story other than going to Cerulean Cave to catch Mewtwo before your rival, who then proceeds to tell you about a girl that ran in ahead after him trying to catch Mewtwo herself, only to find out that it's green. That's kind of neat, but certainly made her out to be a lot more creepy than I imagined her to be. You can also take on Master Trainers who specialize in one specific type of Pokemon in a mirror fight, no items allowed. Beating them earns you the Master title to that Pokemon, to which I have no idea where that has any showing on my character, but anywho. And aside from that, you can also take on the gym leaders again, as well as the Elite Four with updated teams, which I thought was kind of neat, as well as other special fights like fighting against Minna from Sun and Moon, a rematch against Jesse and James, or when beating 5 Master Trainers, challenge Red for the toughest fight in the game. That's really all that the post-game boils down to. Tougher fights to allow you to do tougher fights. And that's kind of it. There's not really a whole lot to it. Now, like I said, I glossed over at the very beginning, but now I want to touch back onto the story. And hear me out, because I actually think it's really interesting, at least with the lore. So I mentioned in an earlier video that with the existence of Red, Blue, and Green, that the game was a sequel of sorts. And after spending some time with it, I want to retract that idea with something else. For the general story, it plays out pretty much the exact same way as the original, with fights against your rival being at the same spots as what was with Blue, but not all the time. And with the fact that Blue, Red, and Green exists in this world but aren't outright involved with the Team Rocket incident, except for Blue, coincidentally, makes me think that Pokemon is heavily committing to the idea of a split timeline like what they introduced with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Original Gen 1, it was Red and Blue who were the Palatown trainers that went out to become champions. But in this continuity, the Mega Evolution continuity no less, Red and Blue already went out and did their Pokemon Challenge before the Rocket incident, causing you and your rival to take up their mantle. But they continue to parallel with each other a fair bit, except for key points. Your rival, unlike Blue, is a fair bit more generous with supplying items. They adopt the Cubone whose mother passed away at the Lavender Tower, which is something I can respect. And instead of fighting you in Silphco, he actually aids you in combating a returning archer of all characters. Sidetracking, I was kind of worried about this rival since Game Freak was describing him as a friendly rival, which most familiar rivals in the series haven't been the best. This kid though, he isn't too bad. Not as good as Blue though. So it certainly is a reimagining, whilst also trying to make it a legit effort into actually trying to implement it into Pokemon's secondary timeline. It's also kind of helps that it's pretty much a prequel to Sun and Moon. I mean, Red, Blue, and Green are much younger than the original games, as well as a returning Mina, and Bill hasn't actually cured himself yet as of this game, so Lily wouldn't know about his existence yet. So with Nintendo's infinite wisdom, they actually have the opportunity of making brand new remakes for all the games in the series that actually don't have Mega Evolution as its core plot line for the most part. And they can even do remakes of some of the newer ones, Generation 6 and 7, without Mega Evolution. Say it never happened, that meteorite didn't crash. There's so much, and Nintendo is just thinking four-dimensionally here, and it's going to be quite an interesting time. But don't forget about making new stuff as well. We always like to see all these different changes in continuity, but don't forget about your new stuff. So now I can probably tell what you're thinking. That's all nice, but what do you actually think of the game in a very concise statement, because you're losing me here? Well, let me try. Let me give you something real quick. Pokemon Let's Go is a largely inoffensive introduction for the kids, and a slightly demeaning game to veterans of the series, with a smart use of past games' lore to make it an essential experience to gather the full experience of this new timeline that Game Freak has introduced for Pokemon, whilst also paving the way to what I really hope is the perfect mix of regular wild battles and a newer, better capturing mechanic. Yeah, that about sums it up. Hey, if there's anything that I missed, or if you guys want to discuss further about the Mega Evolution theory or anything like that, just leave a comment down below. I always enjoy discussing with you guys. And if you'll excuse me... Oh, she's so precious. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you can click right up here to check out some of my other videos. Or, if you really feel like it, you can click right up here to subscribe. And until next time, guys, I will see you all later.
Forever